is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomennl.com.
Hello, and welcome to Next Level Loan Officers podcast. We have the #1 podcast brought to you by loan officers for loan officers in these great lands. I am Sean Zalmanoff, joined by the one, the only, Kellen Vaughn. Kellen, how are you today?
Listen, I am doing fabulous. It's a great day here in the state of Texas. Honored to be with you in the podcast studios today, Sean Z.
You know, Kellen, it seems like a short 3.5 years ago that we were in Las Vegas, Nevada, having, it was maybe our 3rd or 4th live event that we ever did for Next Level. And this woman from somewhere in California strolled into to our world, and it's been a good day since then. That was a good day when she strolled into our world, wasn't it?
It was, man. So listen, I'm proud to introduce her because she's been an awesome contributor and an OG with the Next Level family. Let's welcome Alysha Boles to the studio. Welcome, Alysha.
Hey, y'all. Yay. It was my 40th birthday. I don't know if you remember that.
Did you hear that, Sean? Did you hear what she just said?
I just did.
Hey, I don't care. I have no shame in my age game. But
no. It was the y'all.
There was a hey y'all that came out of your mouth. Listen, as a fellow Texan, it makes me feel right at home.
Me too.
And Sean too. So welcome, Alysha. Thank you for being here.
Thank
listen,
you.
And this is what we're going to talk about today. So listen, Alysha, now you're a California native.
I
correct?
am born and raised in California.
Okay, but now you live in
Texas,
the great state of Texas.
Okay. I still call myself a hybrid because, little in both places, but yeah.
I understand. And we're not going to rat you out to your referral partners who are listening to this at all, but
she has 2 flights to Texas or 2 flights to California in the next week. So
listen, This isn't, the IRS isn't listening to check your residency status and your referral partner. This is a safe place.
I know. They all know. They're all in with me. Life is life, right? We got to do what we've got to do for all the people in our world. So
I love that. And I love your perspective on that. Right. And you and I have had a lot of conversations. You've come by the office. We've chatted as you were kind of getting settled here in Texas. And you've done a great job of really managing both. But the question I have for you today and kind of where I want the discussion to go. And we often kind of ask this question of our Next Level audience, and you've lived it, which is, if I picked you up and dropped you in a new market tomorrow, what would you do to survive in your mortgage career? And you did that. Like, you literally got up from California, went to Texas. In fact, you're probably you live 2 miles from me. We're practically neighbors.
I think I'm like 2 miles from you, 2 miles from Todd, 2.5 miles from your office, a mile from Todd's office.
Yeah. You're right there.
I think Sean is like out my back door. So
that's right. So what would you tell somebody or give us your blueprint? What did you do when you came to Texas? You're like, all right, I'm going to make a business work here.
Yeah.
How do I make that happen?
Well, I think that one of the things I'd love to do is kind of set the stage for this. Like, we dropped Alysha in a totally different world because I want people to know that perspective, right? So I always say I'm from the California that nobody knows exists because it's super rural, small town America. It's not the stereotypical California. And here I am going to, the great big state of Texas, and not just Texas, the Metroplex area, right? We're talking a dynamic where the best thing since sliced bread is Amazon overnight, because I've never experienced that in my entire life.
Or same day.
3 days. So this truly was like an entirely new world. And I remember probably the most valuable thing that I was told, and I've repeated it to myself multiple times. We all know how valuable masterminds are, right? We also know how valuable sitting outside of the sessions and talking is. And we had a session, I can't tell you exactly where it is, but I can picture the whole venue. I think it was one of the Gaylords. It might have been in Grapevine. I was sitting with you and I was Kellen and I was sitting with Todd and we were talking about this potential transition. And my husband was there and we'd been looking around and trying to make decisions. And you said one thing to me that truly hit home in my concerns. You said you have to make the large small. You have to find your community and you have to dig in. That's how you go into a new area and you overcome it or you gain traction. And for me, that made a lot of sense because I'm a small town girl going to a big town world, and I couldn't find that crossover. So that was my game changer, number one. And that allowed me to build out my kind of traction strategies, my ATMs around that. So some of the places I started is number one, I decided I was going to visit weekend open houses. Who is at weekend open houses? Typically your buyer's agent for a team, typically a newer realtor, and sometimes, just people that don't want to let go of them. And I thought that was a great place for me to, one, get to know my housing markets in the area, get to know the neighborhoods, and potentially meet some agents that I can gain traction with. I had a goal of 5 conversations, 5 houses a day because I didn't want to use my whole Saturday. I was like going to knock it out in a couple hours, right? And then go back to playtime. So I set 5 places during the week that I was going to go. I went to them. If I walked away with one solid, good conversation that I could, follow up on the next week, then that was success for me. And that honestly was a great jumping off point. I gained a couple referral partners from it right away, had lunches, got referrals. And that really just kind of showed me, hey, this is something that really works in a brand new area. And it taught me so many things. So that was number one. The second one was finding my communities, right? So I joined a couple networking groups for women and plugged in there, and not really just not your standard networking groups, not your BNI type of networking groups, but more just women in business and moms type of groups. So I guess more of a community group than a networking group is probably a better way to explain it. And just plugged in there and got to know people and kind of had the one-on-ones and the groups. And honestly, within 6 months, I was asked to be on the board for one of them, which was Flower Mound Women in Business.
Right.
And that's been a great community as well.
I've been trying to get on the board there for years. Haven't had any luck.
I put in a good word for you. However, I think we're going to have a barrier.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you made it.
So that's been wonderful because it, again, is an incredible group that just helps plug me in, teach me, grow me, support me. And that's really what I'm looking for when I go into a new area to gain traction.
Yep.
The third thing that I did was truly just the good old fashioned organic social media. Yep. I joined every mom's group in my little areas and I plugged in and I started having the conversations and taking the online, offline and making a presence. And those are like my 3 big things that I think you can plant them anywhere and they could do those 3 things and get somewhere.
So Alysha, you did exactly what the strategy was. You took an area of Dallas that is, I mean, there's few metroplexes, if any, bigger than Dallas. You made it local and you made it yours. Like, I mean, the open house strategy, and I know, I mean, I cringed a little bit the first when I heard you say it. I mean, any of us seasoned who have been doing this a long time, it's like, man, I don't want to do that. But do you want to go move to a new state? Is there a reason you're bringing your family somewhere? You did what you had to do.
Yeah.
And got referral partners out of that. So for those of you listening right now or watching us here on YouTube, like maybe you could get more business by doing this right now, since these the open houses are taking place. And then
I don't do it in my old market because I don't need to there, right? Like it's totally just where do you get in where nobody else is? Because
but as you talked about your communities, so not only on the business networking side, but even on the social media side, where you plugged into your community there, you plugged into moms groups, like you plugged into things that were, that are you, that it's not like, oh man, who's this woman that's like this outsider? Oh, it's another mom. Come on in. So really, really great way to do that. So what does your business look like now as far as how much business is California? How much business is Texas? And where's that going for you?
So I would say that I'm probably still at a 70-30 split where 70% is still in California. And part of the reason for that was just, in the world that we're in, everything takes longer. So licensing in one place versus the other, getting that all in place. So truly, I kind of felt like I was on hold for a long time. I was quietly just kind of building relationships, digging in, doing the things, but I wasn't full force. And so by the time I went full force, it was literally like, it's like a car sitting there at the start line of a race and the engine is warm and it's ready and it's just, ready to take off. That's where I was. So I feel like I'm gaining traction really quickly in Texas, and that percentage is shifting. So it'll be exciting to see maybe what that percentage is in 6 months. But right now, about 70-30.
Well, it's no secret that the advice I gave you has been instrumental to your success. I mean, let's just,
Yes, it is.
you
can boast, you can brag. It was,
and I appreciate it. No, but in all
Todd's the
seriousness,
one that said it, but
right. Yes. Thank you. I'll give you your $10 later. But in all seriousness, the truth is like, listen, I can say all day, this is what you need to do. But the reality is you have to go and execute it. And you're the only one that can do that. And you bring up a great point, Sean, the cringing at the open houses. And the reason you cringe is because we've all been there, right? Like we've all been there. It's how you start in the business. And you just, you cringe because you don't ever want to have to feel like you got to go back to that place. But if you drop me in a new market, it would probably be in the top 5 things that I would go and do. What I give applause to Alysha for, and we have this saying in Next Level, is burning the ships, right? Like, listen, I'm going all in on this market. There's no turning back. She could have easily gone to Texas and just kept doing California deals, but she said, nope, I'm going to entrench myself in the market here. I'm going to get uncomfortable, and I'm going to go walk into open houses in a state that I'm brand new to, in a market that I don't know anybody, in a neighborhood I've never been in before.
When I have to tell them I'm from California.
That's right. I'm going to join moms groups that are already well established. I'm going to join a women's league in Flower Mound, and I'm going to get on the board there, right? Like, I mean, these are steps that action makers take, right? Like, not somebody who's just hoping that it's going to happen, who's planning and planning and planning and will take action someday. No, this is somebody who jumped in, got it done, and did what was necessary to start driving traffic. So kudos to you for taking action and being one to drive those results.
Well, and Alysha, like, I mean, your whole development, your career, it's been pretty remarkable the last 4 years. And it all boils down to the ATMs that we talk about, the actions that matter that you've done. I mean, you closed, was it like 10 loans 4 years ago? I mean,
9. No,
9.
It was first year. I came to Next Level in November. That year I closed 8 loans.
You closed, because I think I remember like a post like the next November.
She closed 8 loans.
You closed like 8 loans the following November or something.
The next year, 1 year anniversary in Next Level, it was like 38 loans.
Okay.
And then the next year, it was just a bump under 70. And then this year's goal is, of course, monetary, but units roughly 100. And I'm a third of the way there.
Right on schedule.
Right. And just continuing this, because I want to bring this up because I think this is a good point too, about making the community small, right? And we all can do this. We all have micro communities within our own areas. But another area that you really plug into, and you didn't mention this, but I know it because you and I chat about it, is your kids' school, right? Yeah. Like that's another area where you've really gotten plugged in. Again, guys, can you imagine, like, if you're listening to this, you go to a new market, a new school for your kids, and you're trying to network and become the referral person within that community. That's hard to do. Like, that's hard to kind of break into some of those things. So again, but yeah, give us a little bit of that, because I know that's been an area that you've really pressed into as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that one I take, of course, much more organically and genuine because it is my children's school. But at the same time, you find out things like one of my son's teachers is a realtor. She's so happy to talk, the market. And even though she does it part-time, I've got some of my daughter's best friends find out their mom's a realtor. Everywhere you turn, if you just have the conversations and you meet the people and you put yourself out there vulnerably, you're going to find a connection somewhere.
Yeah.
Funny story, about 2 weeks ago, we were sitting at my son's baseball game, and I'm watching my daughter on the field play with a little friend that comes to every game. And this lady comes over to check on him, and I assure her that I positioned myself on the bleachers so I could watch these kids, right? Well, a conversation ensues, and about 30 minutes later, she is texting one of the, most prominent realtors in our little area because he's on board at my children's school. And she wants him to know me. And he was actually just asking her if we had any lenders at the school. And he messaged her back a couple of days later and said, we've got to help her be successful. So finding those people that want you to win in the community that you're already in and that you're genuinely invested, it's huge. And that's just my last couple of weeks. And there's a couple of them. So.
Well, and these conversations are so easy to have. Like, it's, we've all heard of this acronym before, but I've kind of changed it. It's the family, recreation, occupation, dreams. And so, like, I lead my kids' Cub Scouts.
Fraud. That's what we're talking about. It's fraud.
Family, recreation, occupation, dreams. So these are the questions. I don't lead with, hey guys, I do mortgages and I can help you. But, we're standing on the sidelines of the kids' soccer game. Talking to the parents after coaching their kids in baseball. And man, we just have conversations. Hey, is this the only kid that you have? Do we have another one coming up? What do you do for a living? I mean, they're similar in my socioeconomic status. They live in my same neighborhoods. Like, they're like me to some extent. What are you guys doing this summer? You got kids going to camps, doing all these things. And it's bound to happen when you ask people these questions. Oh, what do you do?
Right.
Like, and the conversations just happen real naturally. And it's not like, oh, I do mortgages. And by the way, man, I know rates are up right now, but have you thought about tapping into that equity of your house?
Right.
We don't go there, but there's so much in common. And again, Kellen, you and I were talking earlier today about being in somebody's flow. It's, when somebody closes the transaction with the realtor or mortgage lender, it's 70, 80% of the people say they'd use you again, but they don't, because we forget about them. We're out of their flow. You don't stay, you lose contact with them. You're not mailing them things. You're not talking to them. You're not taking them out to coffee and doing those things. Like, man, if you're a lender and you're not taking people who work in HR departments that you close loans for out to coffee, if you're not staying in their flow for all the people that they know, I mean, you're missing out on some golden opportunities. And Alysha, like, that is the single thing that if you really want to put it together, it's as you've plugged into these organizations in your kids' school, like, you're now in so many people's flow that they see. It's like, oh, and now I know she does mortgages.
Yeah. Well, and I've learned people genuinely want to help. And maybe I'm blessed. I don't know. I put myself in a good circle. Next Level is a community of people that are willing to help and give and, share their best practices. And I have found that most people that I've plugged into and met over the last year and conversed with, the same thing, as they get to know me and they know our purpose and why they're there, they want to help us succeed. They want us to be there, and they, are willing to reach out to their network to help. And I didn't ask. We just got to know each other, and I got to know them. And as that story developed, they're like, I want to help you,
Well, that's awesome. As KT, our fellow coach and co-founder, always says, the loan officer with the most friends makes the most money, right? And there's some truth to that. There's not a lot of things that he says that are true, but
you should remember or repeat.
That's right. But that one is true, and it's universal in a lot of scenarios. So, Alysha, thank you. You've been in our group for a long time. You're a great contributor. You're just an awesome person. And we couldn't be more honored to have you in the Next Level community. So we appreciate you and everything you do for loan officers and women in lending as well. So thank you very much for that and for being here.
Thank you.
Sean, thanks for co-piloting this podcast with me today. I appreciate it. And listen, if you're a loan officer and you're listening to this and you're not part of the Next Level family, jump on over to nlstrategycall.com and listen, you can have a free 30-minute strategy call with a coach and let's talk about your business and see how Next Level might be able to help you pick up an extra couple of deals this year, more important this year than ever. So free call, nlstrategycall.com. Check it out. We'll see you. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next Level Loan Officers podcast.
Peace out, y'all.